Welcome to Mornings with Patty, in which this is my 51st take of this particular video today. This is a really hard one, so it must be meant for me to share with you, but meant for me. I read a daily passage from one of 6 meditation books, and then I give you my take on it. If you like this kind of content, please like, follow, subscribe below. And I'm reading from One Day at a Time, August 8th, and it's on how to give advice. We hear it said that we should not give each other advice. This refers specifically to the kind of advice that suggests taking drastic action to bring about a radical change. For example, in a marriage relationship, no, we don't do that. We must not do that. In other ways, we can give a great deal of advice. We suggest looking into ourselves for the causes of our problems. We advise depending on God's guidance. We recommend lots of spiritual readings, or we suggest spiritual ways to find a new perspective, new strength, and share our personal experience in applying them. When I am greatly troubled by an insoluble problem, I will gladly accept the advice of someone I trust, that I concentrate maybe on a slogan or a spiritual passage to find a solution. I know that constructive action can be taken only after I have lifted my thoughts and emotions out of their confused state. Years ago, I remember Wayne Dyer asking Deepak Chopra for advice on a problem, and Deepak Chopra appropriately responded, "Go meditate." That is a really good answer. And a lot of us, and myself included, we have these problems and we are confused and we want clarity. And so we'll go to somebody and we'll share what's going on with us. And our immediate thing is what we want to do is fix that person so they don't have to be in pain, or give them the right kind of advice. This is what you should do. This is what you should do. And have you tried this? Have you tried that? And that shit just drives me crazy. So I'm just telling you. And one of the things that really helps me out of my confused state is just allowing me to process. Sometimes that's all I need. I'm an external processor. I want to, I might be upset about something really big and I need to get it out. And if I share with somebody I trust, then I can get some clarity. And then what I like to do is, if it's something big, I can ask for their input or their perspective or their feedback. I don't necessarily want advice, but I do want perspective when I'm really off. And there are people I trust who I have great admiration for because they have a really great spiritual program that's underneath them. There are 2 kinds of advice things I want to share with you, and my processes in them about those big things that we must not do. I had this woman come to me a couple of years ago with a severe second-time cancer diagnosis, and she asked me if she should do chemo or not. And I said, "I'm so sorry you're going through this, and I cannot make that decision for you, but what I do know is you have great abilities. You have great making decisions for yourself abilities. Just follow your heart. I trust you. I know that you have got this." And she did what she needed to do, but it was not up to me to tell her, because that's not my expertise and it's not my decision to make. And I don't want to be the one who says, "Oh, don't do chemo," and then she dies. No, that's not what I do. And I don't want you to do that either. But that's an example of how to handle that. The second example are those other things that happen that aren't as big, but they can be disruptive. And so what I like to do is, when somebody comes to me with a problem, I listen. Try not to interrupt, but sometimes I do. But I listen to what they're saying and how they're saying and what is it that they need. And so when they're finished going through their problem, I'll ask, "Do you want my perspective? Do you want some feedback?" And if they say no, I honor that. And if they say yes, then I share my experience of a similar situation, because most of us have had a similar situation. I'm so old, I've had that situation probably. And then I share what I did and my experience with what I did and what the outcome was. So, for example, a friend of mine had this really horrible experience a couple of years ago in which somebody had slandered him. And I knew what it was like to be slandered, and it's horrible to have that feeling and that experience. And you don't go to people and say, oh, well, you created this. No, you don't say shit like that. What you say is you hold on to them and you love them in that moment because they're going through a really hard time. And you don't worry about what anybody else thinks because your friendship is the most important thing, holding them when they're going through this thing. And then I shared what happened with me. A friend of mine said years ago, I was going through this problem, and I said, David, what do I do? This person is slandering me. And he says, Patty, you don't need to do anything. Shit floats. You just need to stay by your side and just let it be. And I'm like, oh. And it was really hard to do because I wanted to go in and I wanted to change things. I wanted to make sure they paid for what they did. You know, all that stuff that we did. I wanted to go and let her have it. And then finally, it took years. But finally, the shit did float and her true colors were shown. And I was in the clear. And so just recently, my friend had the same experience. So that's what you do. I know that was kind of long, but basically there are two kinds of advice. One is that you do not ever tell somebody who's going through a major life crisis what to do. You tell them you believe in them and that they know the right thing to do. The second thing that you do is that if somebody comes to you with advice, wanting advice, and they're just talking out, listen, ask them for their if you can give feedback. If they say yes, give them your experience, give them your strength, give them your hope. And that's what I do every day on this channel. Thanks for following me, subscribing and following and commenting and loving me. I love you. Thanks for showing up. Mwah.